Karen.
Yes.
Okay, don't freak out.
Okay, I'll try not to.
But I think today's guest might actually be a time traveler.
Ooh.
I mean, who else goes from engineering at the BBC to bending time with meditation to writing books that make Einstein say, wait, what now?
Definitely a time traveler.
He's like a cosmic Swiss Army knife. Yeah, he's a former BBC engineer, a time-bending author, a meditation maestro, and he may or may not have figured out how to communicate with the future.
In his free time.
Yes. See, he talks to muses, channels soul waves, and casually drops things like future history into conversation, just like it's another Tuesday. And if he's right, time isn't just money. It's conscious and possibly British.
Oh, okay.
So if I suddenly start meditating in binary code or composing ambient music to align with the soul of the universe,
Or talking with an accent.
you know who's to blame.
Okay.
Roll the intro.
My name is Will.
And I'm Karen.
And unlike Mulder and Scully,
We both want to believe.
so we've embarked on a journey of discovery.
We've talked to people deeply entrenched in the spiritual and metaphysical world.
We've thrown ourselves into weird and wonderful experiences. I even joined a coven of witches.
And wait, you joined a coven?
Yep, all in the interest of finding something
Anything.
that will prove that there's something beyond this physical,
three-dimensional world we all live in.
This is the Skeptic Metaphysicians.
Hey there, I'm Will.
And I'm Karen.
Welcome back to another powerful, packed episode of the Skeptic Metaphysicians.
Woo.
Our guest today is someone who doesn't just think outside the box, he time bends the box, asks what it dreams about, and then turns it into a guided meditation.
I love it.
Let's see. Tom Evans is a modern day mystic with a twist. He weaves science, creativity, and consciousness into a tapestry of insights that invite us to live differently, not just think differently. Now, whether it's guiding listeners to stillness, composing frequencies that calm the soul, or unlocking the secrets of the creative mind, Tom brings a refreshingly grounded wisdom to the metaphysical world. So sit back, breathe in, and prepare to journey into some truly unexpected realms with Mr. Tom Evans himself. Tom, thank you so much for coming on the show today.
Fantastic. And just remember to breathe out as well. That's important.
Breathe out.
That's true.
Breathe in, and of course, you must breathe out. Very,
Yes,
very
everyone
true.
will pass out otherwise.
Maybe that's where I'm going wrong.
Maybe.
It's like whenever, at least in the States, we have this game when you're a kid where you go through a tunnel, you try to hold your breath all the way through the tunnel
When you're driving.
when you're driving, and then, right? Otherwise, you would pass out. And inevitably, at the end of the tunnel, and that's where you breathe out, and you do a game to see who can hold it the longest through the tunnel. Inevitably,
You passed out.
I pass out every time before. I mean, that's so I know. But all right, Tom, it's a pleasure to have you on the show. We've known you for a little bit. This is our first opportunity to have a conversation with you, so we're excited to share who you are with our audience because you truly are a remarkable person
Absolutely.
that isn't just full of woo. You bring the science along with it, and that's the wonderful thing. You make things plausible. Right?
Well, just even your virtual presence, it just transmits this peace, this love, this really beautiful, beautiful energy. So
Yeah.
hopefully it's getting out there to people who are listening and to people who are watching.
Right.
That's very kind of you. Thank you.
So I would be remiss if I didn't mention the fact that along with your huge list of credentials, you are also one of the top meditation teachers on Insight Timer. So we're going to be talking a lot about that also. Speaking of, the reason why I bring that up is because I want to jump onto the meditation bandwagon. You describe it as a gateway to unlocking creativity and even the bending time. How do you see the relationships between stillness and innovation?
Wow, that's a deep question.
Right off the
Very
bat.
Welcome to the
Wow.
Skeptic Metaphysicians.
Wow. Okay, so here's the thing, right? So all knowledge, all wisdom, past, present, and future exists, like all time exists right now. And the normal human mind, and I stress this is only the normal human mind, is only capable of about having one thought at a time. So if you think about the thought you're having right now, it gets replaced by you thinking about the thought you're just having. Just think about that for a moment.
Right.
So if the reason meditation is the key to all of this is because meditation is not about having no thoughts at all. It's about coming to a different relationship with your thoughts. And I'm just going to throw in that most thoughts aren't necessarily what you think of as being your own. Right? So it's the conscious mind thoughts of those things. This is our inner chatter, our monkey mind. So when you master meditation, and it doesn't take very long. I've got a series of meditations. There's 10 of them, 10-minute meditations, one a day for 10 days, and you'll have mastered meditation. It's as simple as that, right? So it's not difficult, but some people overcomplicate what is essentially very simple. And all it is to do about having a different relationship with your thoughts. And as soon as you still the mind, and it's easier than you think. I've done a few examples of how to do that on the Mondays with the Munsons. So there's 4 techniques I shared there about how to do that. Once you still the mind, it opens the gateway for other thoughts to come in. And those thoughts can be from the past, from the future, but they mainly come from what's called the creative plane, which is a sort of 7th-dimensional, 9th-dimensional plane. I'm getting a bit technical now, but that's where they come from. And you know that they're from a different source because you weren't having that thought. So we're only one meditation away from a light bulb moment that will change our world and the world.
Oh, so true.
Wow.
So true.
I'm still stuck on 10 meditations and you can meditate because I have the mega monkey mind. I have like a whole herd of monkeys in my mind and a really hard time stilling those. So I think I might need to listen to those because that would be fantastic.
I'm a no guy.
You might,
Yeah,
you might
I
know.
know.
Okay.
You've already alluded without knowing it to the key, because one of the easiest ways to meditate is to tune into the breath. That's why so many meditations have the breath as part of them. It does 2 things. First is, if you think about the breath, you can't think about these thoughts. It's a great way of stilling the mind. But also you talk about holding the breath as you go into the tunnel. And then imagine if you then just focus on the fact you're holding it and then focus on the out as well. And then you say, well, actually, I've just realized in between the in and the out and the in, there's a pause. So there's 4 cycles to the breath, not 2.
Right.
And if you just focus on the pauses, it's amazing how that stills the mind. And the pauses are the gaps in time where these light bulb moments sneak in, this innovation sneaks in. The other thing that's happening is chi is being generated in your body. You're actually raising the chi, the energy, the life force in your body up and down the spine. There's some very specific breathing techniques you can do with the spinal breath. And that activates your creative core and makes your creative juices flow, which is quite interesting. So the breath is quite apart from keeping us alive, it's the key, the first key to actually getting into the meditative state. And we've all got to breathe anyway. Right? And if you just want a bit more time, all you need to do is slow your breath down and time elongates, which is kind of interesting.
Ooh.
Now you mentioned when you're focusing on your breath, you can't, those thoughts can't intrude in. However, I start with the breath, and before I realize it, I'm way gone out down the rabbit hole of thoughts, and then have to force myself to come back to the breath because it's like you said, one thought replaces another. So my first thought is breath, breathing in, breathing out. Oh, look at that squirrel over there. Or I wonder if that squirrel in that tree and that whatever. Oh, wait. Breathing in, breathing out. Right. So what's the secret to focusing on just the breath and not allowing the thoughts to intrude?
So then you migrate to having a chat with your thoughts, right? So if you talk to your thoughts, they have to abate. So if you say, oh, I thought about the squirrel, very interesting. I wonder what squirrels are foraging for today, where their nut pile is. And then you start a dialogue with your thoughts themselves, and your thoughts then give up because they get a bit bored. It's as simple as that. But then what happens is the most amazing idea comes in based on squirrels and nuts. You realize, hang on, I've not been storing things away for the winter like I should be doing. Right? So the metaphor of the thought that you're having, you realize was really key to the whole thing. So the squirrel thought is not, inverted commas, a bad thought. It's a really, really good thought, a bit like a dream that comes in. It just needs to be interpreted. So the thing that grabs your attention, which is the squirrel, and is a really good thing, as opposed to you thinking, hey, I'm not meditating, I'm doing it wrong, right? So there's no right or wrong to meditation at all. Meditation can just be a walk in the park, something like that. A lot of people have ideas in the shower because water is the conductor of the universal mind stuff. So it's the conductor of thoughts. So that's why people have ideas in shower and this sort of stuff. So the squirrel is really important, but it's how that squirrel and its activities relate to you in your life. Then you go, aha, and that was not such a bad thought. What happens though, if you think it is a bad thought, then you get put off meditation thinking, I'm not very good at it and it's not very good for me. It's dull and as dull as ditch water, which is why I start some of my meditations by saying, don't meditate if you're driving. Certainly if you're going through that tunnel, right? Don't meditate if you're driving, piloting the International Space Station or using a cheese grater.
You see, just another Tuesday. Yeah.
Wow, that's
Yeah. So
it's incredible how you explain things.
I
It's
must
like-
have a lot of things I got to work out because I have thought after thought after thought: squirrel, dogs, tree, house, cheese, grater. It's nonstop. So I got some work to do. I'm gonna test out your
10
meditations. Yeah, because I think that sounds fabulous. Now you talk about a creative muse. Is our creative muse a part of us, or is it a separate consciousness, or something even more mysterious?
I thought I was your
You're my muse.
Okay.
He talks about a creative muse, and so I'm curious about
Yeah.
how is that a part of us, or is that outside of us?
Well, let's just deconstruct that. You said, is it part of us or is it part of the collective consciousness? Well, we're part of the collective consciousness, so therefore it must be part of us.
So the answer is yes.
The answer is absolutely yes. And so if you ever had an idea, you have a bright idea, I'm not sure this happened to a lot of people that are watching this, and you've had a bright idea and you do nothing with it. About 2 years later, you see someone working on that idea and having done it. You were both
Yes.
tapped in, but they were the one that grounded it into the physical plane and did something with it. And there's a lovely process that I teach, which is called the cascade of creativity. And what you do is you have the source idea. So let's say we've got the idea that wouldn't it be great if we could sit down, And so we're early hominids. We've never really sat down. So what we'll do is we'll invent a chair, right? So then you have the seed idea is I want to sit down. Then the idea of a chair comes in. But chairs can be many, many things. It can be a stool. It can be a bar stool. It could be a yoga ball, the one thing I'm sitting on right now. It could be what we call a shooting stick. All of the things you go to the races and you sit on this one pole and stuff like that. So then you have all the ideas of chairs. And then what you can do is then say, right, and now I'm going to make that chair. I'm going to go and find the wood. I'm going to hone it down. I'm going to see which works best for me. And then you ground it into the physical plane. Then what happens is you get all the spin-offs. You go like, so I've designed chair number 1, but now there's chair number 2 and chair number 3 and chair number 4. And often what happens is the spin-off is the one that makes you the fortune. But you don't get to the spin-off until you start with from that seed notion and then bring it down into the physical plane. Then all of a sudden someone else is making chairs and you're not, and you had the same idea and you didn't run with it.
Yeah,
Wow.
that hasn't happened to me at all.
Never. No.
Right.
Tom, I know you have your list of questions.
No,
This
no.
isn't really along that vein, but how did you come to all of this knowledge and wisdom?
Wow. Well, I've always been creative. When I was at the BBC, I got several awards for innovation, and then I left and formed my own company, and I started making widgets for the broadcast industry. I invented the first way of synchronizing a camera with a computer screen so it didn't flicker, and I sold some widgets all around the world that did that, and I added other patents to my name. It's always been quite inventive, and so I built up a broadcast company. Sold that in the early 90s, and I became technical director of the merged company. And I said, we've got to get into this thing called the internet. And they said, the internet's never going to take off, isn't it? You're never going to do video and audio over the internet.
Right.
And so I threw my toys out of the pram, the year of gardening leave to get around the contract. And then I started working in an internet company and built that up. And then that sort of merged and got taken over in my mid-40s. I was really, really stressed. I've been successful financially twice in my life. And the 2 times I've been most financially successful, I've also been the most stressed. Mid-40s, I didn't have a midlife crisis. I just had a midlife hiccup. And someone said to me, you look really haggard, you need to meditate. And I said, don't be stupid. I haven't got time. Can't let my mind go quiet. But I persisted. And then what happened is loads of weird stuff happened. So I started to research the weird stuff. Always been quite fascinated with the metaphysics of it all. And I started to write books. So my 3rd book was called The Art and Science of Light Bulb Moments. So I researched the physiology, the neurology of a light bulb moment. And the only way you can do that, because there's nothing about it on the internet, you can't search for it at all, is you have to go into meditation. And then you realize that a light bulb moment is a whole mind event. It's not just something that comes into your head. Our language gives away. Always off the top of my head, or it's come on the back of my mind, or it's on the tip of my tongue. When you have a light bulb moment and they happen within a second, you get the whole vision in less than a second, and you shout eureka, that sort of stuff. And it comes in through the head, goes down to the root, into the root chakra, and you check in with the earth if it's ecological. Then it comes up to the solar plexus chakra, and you see a good idea, and you get a green light. Then it moves up to the heart chakra, and you, I can fall in love with this. And then it goes up to the right brain, and you get the whole vision. Left brain fills in some of the detail, and then, as I said, the throat chakra might shout eureka, I found it, that sort of thing. So the whole mind, that's why I'd love to do some experiments with somebody and put myself in an MRI scanner at the time I have an MRI, a light bulb moment, and you'll see all the neurology is lighting up at that time for that split second. Yeah.
I would love to see that research. If you ever get to that point, let us know. We'll have to get back in the show.
I'm just putting it out there.
Yeah, if you're listening. Right. So, Tom, you're also one of the content partners in New Reality TV. Mm-hmm. And the only reason why I'm bringing this up is not for a shameless plug, although, hey, newrealitytv.com. But it's also the fact that you have a show called Practical Alchemy. And one of the things that you alchemize is time. Mm-hmm. Now, you mentioned time not being linear and all that kind of stuff, and that we can actually influence time. So how is it possible for us to influence time? Now, we understand time is a construct. It's all happening at the same time. But how can we actually consciously affect time to slow it down, speed it up, or to make it run in our favor?
Mm-hmm. Well, time didn't exist until we had planets revolving around stars. So our sun is a third generation star. Before that, there were another phase of stars, second generation and first generations. And until they exploded and created all the heavy elements that we're made from and our planets are made from, we didn't have anything going around a star. So there was no observer. And even when we had the Earth as it was and the moon around the Earth and stuff, but there was still no observer for quite some time. So time needs an observer. And if you think about time, it's really interesting because we're in different time zones. And wasn't it great that we could meet and at the right time, nearly to the second, which is really important. So I'm always conscious of other people's time as well as my time. You said, isn't time a precious thing? Well, it is, because we are the zero meridian over in GMT.
There you go.
Time sort of starts just slightly east of the central London. That's where it starts from. And then it got, as the Earth rotates, then it sort of spreads. It spreads to the west. So time is this construct which is really good, so we can run our modern world with it, because we don't want all the planes landing at the same time at an airport and this sort of stuff. Really useful for that. Great when we try and arrange these Zooms, quadcasts, and these conversations over different time zones. But it's interesting that seconds and minutes and weeks and months don't exist in nature. So nothing beats to the second but the mind of someone watching the clock.
Right. That's very true. And right along the lines of the
so we got that.
Right?
We can anchor that. You ever had done a weekend with friends and you have a great time and it just zooms by, and then Monday comes around all too soon? Mm-hmm. You ever flying home for a holiday, you read all your books and the plane's delayed and you're sitting in the airport, you've got nothing to read, and it just, your 45-minute delay seems to stretch in 2 or 3 hours. It's because there's a massive subjectivity to time as well. But it's interesting, for the normal human mind is about 33% efficient, because you're having thoughts about the now, you're having thoughts about the past, what you did yesterday, and let's say, I don't know, you're doing a speech, you do a wedding speech or something like that at the weekend, and you start to go through that speech. So anytime your mind wanders away from the now to either to the past, maybe you regret something you've done, or it's a conversation that didn't go very well, or it goes to the future because you're trying to rehearse something that's happening in the future, or you're concerned about something in the future, or excited about something in the future, your focus dissipates from the now. So the easiest way to stretch time is just have this concentration of focus, this channel of mind, if you like, focus on the thing you want to know. And then the easiest way to slow the passage of time down is to breathe more slowly, and it works in groups as well. So I'm looking at the top of your chest right now. I can see the rate that you're breathing, And if you get into a group situation, you can control the breathing rate of everyone in that group and slow time down in that group. The other thing you can do is you can start to make really, really good decisions by messing with time. And if you think about all the time you waste by making the wrong decision, right?
Hell yeah.
So we got two. There's 4 time constants that I use. One is called EMT, not GMT. That's extended me time, and this is about getting into this space where time elongates. You slow the breath down. You get the left brain and the right brain working together. The left brain isn't logical, and the right brain is not creative. That's an urban myth. The left brain sits inside space and time, and the right brain sits everywhere and everywhere else. So getting into the whole brain thinking mode, which you can do by breathing. There's a couple of breathing techniques you can do. Alternate nostril breathing is one of them, and then the spinal breath is another one of them. Slowing the breathing down slows time down for you personally. But then you can get into a thing called IMT, which is internal mind time, by tuning into the gut and the heart. And IMT is a great way of saving time by not making the right decision. So when you tune into the gut will tell you if it's a good idea, yes or no. The heart will tell you, is it a good idea? Do I love it? Am I lukewarm about it? Am I cold about it? And how many times have you said, oh, my heart wasn't in that, and you went ahead with it? How many times have you said, oh, my gut wasn't in it, I overruled my gut? And then, so by tuning into these centers, saying, there's something not quite right about this, then that can get you into a lovely time-saving mode. And finally, when you get into OMT, which is outer mind time, you can tune into the past and you can tune into the future. So one of the things I teach authors that work with me is how to tune into the future and how to tap in to the future version of them that knows the words they haven't written yet, and get them sent back from the future to the now. And when people do this, they get to the third draft of a book in one draft. It kind of comes in fully formed.
Wow.
Loads and loads of time.
Tom, you realize this is a Skeptic Metaphysicians, right? That sounds incredibly implausible. How is that? How can someone like me, who's a little bit pragmatist, how can I wrap my head around that?
Here's the thing. It's not real. So I've made it up. It's active imagination. So it's not true. But if you imagine that it's true and it works, who's to argue? If it gets the book written in no time at all. The quickest book I've written and published was done in 2 weeks, from the first word to the physical book in my hand. 2 weeks.
Wow.
Okay, you and I have to talk, because I've got a book in me and I don't know how to get it out.
We'll
and I don't have the time.
So, you will have the time is there to do it. So all we've got to do is get you to tune in. So I've got a meditation specifically that tunes you into the future version of you, to bring the words back from the future into the now. Now, then there's a fourth time constant, which is one that's in fairly is used in manufacturing, called just in time. So if you're making cars, and the engines are coming from a different place, and obviously, the bodies come from a different place to try to put them together. You don't want too many engines in the factory, then you've got cars going through it. So just in time is really, really important too. And just in time is something where meditation comes back in as well, because all the time around you, there's things going on. There's that squirrel running around looking for nuts, and you think it's a distraction, when actually it could be the title of your new book that you haven't written yet. Where's my nuts? Don't go with that one. But you know what I mean. So the world of that side, and our dreams as well, is presenting us with information. And I like to think that they're little nuggets of information that come from the future into the now, and we're just picking up on these things. Again, active imagination. But if it works and you get a job done because of it, great.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, I can't help but think, you live right by Stonehenge.
We do.
Do you think you're being influenced at all by these stones?
Actually, not quite. Although I did write a book recently called Time Restored, which you'll find on New Reality TV. There's 2 interviews, and I've actually serialized the book on NRTV.
Wow.
I wrote that book I started on the 8th of September, finished it on the 20th. It's only 12,000 words, but I wrote a chapter every morning, and in it, and it's all about time loops. And I wrote it as a demonstration for students that take my course on how to write a book or how to channel a book, because I wanted to explain about the idea of a nested loop, how you open a loop but then don't close it down. The classic would be you see the murdered body at the start, and then it's all about how did the person get there and who did it and all that sort of stuff. And so it's all about open loops in it. And one of the biggest loops I put in it, and this is not a spoiler, is that Stonehenge was a temporal alchemist in the future who gets the stones from the future, sends them back into the past and deposits them there at night when there was no one looking. And that's how they got there. And there's no more preposterous than any other theory about it.
Why not? Sure.
But just to, and it's meant the absolute fictional device inside the book. But the reason I mentioned that is that Stonehenge hasn't got an influence on me. But I only found out recently, and this is relatively recently, that I live on the Earth's heart chakra. And the Earth has got 7 chakra points. And I've gone and found a house pretty much in the epicenter of the Earth's heart chakra.
Wow.
Stonehenge is one aspect of that. Glastonbury Tor is another one, in a place very near me called Shaftesbury. And Mount Shasta, Uluru in Australia, and Mount Akka in Norway, Lake Titicaca, and where else? Oh, the pyramids, of course, yeah.
Right. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Wow. Very cool.
Wow.
Yeah, and it's a lovely place, and there's lots of love down here.
Yeah.
I would imagine so.
Yeah. So you don't just alchemize time. You also, the big buzzword these days is money, right? We talked about how money is an energy flow. But you say that money is really, you need to look at it as a friend. So how do you, in terms of practical alchemy, how do you alchemize your life to be able to have the type of abundant wealth that someone would need to be happy, for example?
Well, I say that's the key, isn't it? Because a lot of people have got a huge amount of money and they're not very happy.
Exactly, yeah.
And there's a lot of people that haven't got money and they're also unhappy. It's just about having the right amount. So I talk about money as an aspect of abundance, really. So it's just one of the aspects of abundance, because it's more, you need other things in your life as well apart from the money. Money is just an energy.
Sure.
You can't see it from space. And right now it's actually hidden in a set of ones and zeros inside computer systems that we can't really see it. But money kind of makes the world go round, because it means that we got more time on our hands. If we didn't have money, we'd have to go back to barter. So you'd have to, let's say you were charging me for this interview. If I live down the road, I can come and work on your roof and put some tiles on the roof or something like that, because I'm happen to be a tiler. But that's not a great way to run our modern world, whereas money allows us to have this trusted third party of a bank. And so you could just go and get someone else to do the roof, and I could sell you a course on how to make money. Funnily enough, my course on how to make money I give away for free.
What?
Absolutely, because it's all about paying it forward. So the more you put out there, the more it comes back. But what happens is that the coming back comes from a source, which is not the one that you gave your kindness to. It comes back from another source, and it comes back very unexpectedly, and it always comes back 10% more than you need. So I don't need double the amount of money I've got now. I just want a little bit more coming in than my bills, you know what I mean? And it means I've got to spend that much energy on that money arriving. It just arrives from very strange places just when you need it. And so money as an energy is really, really interesting, because when you think about the energy of money, in the UK we have these banknotes, and they say, I promise to pay the bearer. And all you need to do is to get more money energy coming your way is to make promises and keep them, over deliver on the promises. But then there's also another definition of the word promise, and it's your promise. What can you offer to the world? So if you want to make more money, all you got to do is upskill in whatever way that might be. Hopefully it's fun too, so you learn to write a book, you learn how to paint, you learn how to play a musical instrument or something like that. And as soon as you increase your promise, you also increase the amount of stuff that comes back your way in response to that.
Okay.
And I would recommend anybody who's listening, if you haven't seen it yet, go back and watch his show. It was episode number 8. I was watching that specifically Money Alchemy episode recently, and you have this wonderful guest, and she did, I think it was maybe a 2 to 3 minute sort of meditation on there that was just so beautiful. I think I even got a few little tears in my eyes, but it was wonderful. So absolutely, please make sure you all go listen to that episode because it's fantastic.
Right. Okay, so if I understand correctly, we need to, in order for us to attract abundance to ourselves, we need to provide abundance to others. For lack of a better word, when you give to others, you get that back in return and then some.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I that 10% extra is just my own. That's my personal thing. If you want to dial it up to 33% or 200%, that's fine, right? But 10% works if you haven't got any debt to pay off. So if you've got debt to pay off, you might want to turn it up a little, turn the knob up. And I do talk about everything going up to 11 or 12 in the spinal tap way. So we don't have to stick at 10 in terms of what we want to be. We can turn the knob up to 10, 11.
So how do you do that? How do you, just by you setting an intention that I want 55%, 55.674% more than I give out, or how does that work?
Yeah, I've not been a great. I'm not a great fan of goal setting systems, especially SMART goal. I got involved with SMART goals some time ago, and I reckon they weren't that smart because 50% of the time they worked, and 50% of the time they didn't seem to work for me. So I got a shaman, a shamanka actually, she's a female, British shamanka. She said to me, set goals based on what you want to learn, not based on what you want to achieve. So if you set your goal based on what you want to learn, let's say a month from now, 3 months from now, a year from now, what happens is the 3-month goal, the 1-month goal gets delivered like next week. So you learn it like really quickly. The universe says, right, someone wants to learn, and it delivers the learning based goal really, really quickly. The 3-month goal gets delivered in about a month, and then the 1-year goal gets delivered in about 3 months. And so, and sometimes that learning could be an adversity. So just be open to that, right? So say thank you for the adversity coming your way, and it's just something you've got to get over, so you can then expand. So a lot of I before I became a meditation guide, I was an author's mentor, and a lot of people would be writing through the adversity that they'd seen, and they use the writing process as catharsis, which is really healthy. But also, your adversity that you've been through becomes a source material for you to write a book, go and do workshops, coaching, mentoring, this sort of stuff. So it becomes your experience that you can help other people with, if you know what I mean. So that's why if you do goals based on what you want to learn, and so if you say you could just want to learn, how do I get to that 10% more coming in than is going out? That's a good one to learn. And I'll say to you straight away, well, actually, there's a free course on how to do exactly that. I think, so I've ticked that box straight away. And guess what? It's free. It's called Abundant Thinking. And I use the example of Wilkins McCorber from Charles Dickens, Oliver Twist, I think it was, wasn't it? And he said that 20 shillings was a pound in old English money. Right. Sort of about $1.2 or whatever it is nowadays. And so he said, if your expenditure is 20 shillings, is that right? But your income is only 19 shillings and sixpence, equals misery. If your expenditure is 20 shillings, but your income is 20 shillings and sixpence, then that equals happiness. And I call it the McCorber principle. It's one of the free videos in my in this course. So it's all about seeing the money as an energy, increasing your promise, learning and growing and evolving. And then the cosmos seems to respond and just delivers in the most bizarre, unexpected ways. I've had people that have had tax rebates they'd forgotten about, or even it might be sad, but a relative's passed away and some money's coming out. But it's not about that. It's not about the mechanism. It's about how it comes in. For me, a client will just rock up. That I'd forgotten about, and just says, I really need your help, and could you do this? And this client knows nothing about whatever else I've been doing. They just come out of the blue or whatever. So
wow. Yeah.
So one of the things you're talking about, kind of learning how to think differently. So many people are stuck with this mindset, or this I guess mindset of scarcity and that fear. How do you overcome that? How do you get rid of that or get past that in order to be able to really integrate these thoughts of abundance?
Lots of alcohol.
Oh well.
If you haven't got enough alcohol, then that reinforces the scarcity. That's a great question, Karen. So what's happening is you're also manifesting the scarcity yourself.
Yeah.
So you could go. I love the Greek word meta. So a metamorphosis, metaphor. Meta means above. So you could say, what is the lesson in the scarcity? What am I going to learn from that scarcity? Is it scarcity anyway? Do I just think or is it relative scarcity? Do I just think someone up the road is less scarce than me? You know, it's like the idea that someone might have billions of pounds, but are they happy? Are they in love? Have they got stresses?
Right.
Yeah. So it is a state of mind, right? Obviously, it's a state of bank account as well. It's a state of it's those things too. So yeah, it comes back to that same thing: is that how you see that abundant force? That the universe is benevolent. If it wasn't, we wouldn't be here to observe, be part of it. So it's absolutely fundamentally benevolent. There's enough resource on this planet for everybody. We don't have to have this polarity of the 10% having 90% of the money. This is an aspect of the duality. There's enough resource on the planet for all of us to live. And it's not just humans. You know, we're a very, very small percentage of the biomass of the planet, tiny percentage of the actual biomass, but we're one of the self-aware aspects of it. We shouldn't rule cetaceans out and cephalopods and
yeah, no, absolutely. They're unbelievably intelligent.
Yeah. Absolutely. So scarcity is a mindset, and it will feed itself, and it will feed the scarcity. So it'll generate more scarcity and more scarcity. Flip it to abundance, and then all of a sudden you generate more and more abundance.
Right.
But it's a good place to start from. It's a good place. It's ironically a good place to start from, because most people wouldn't know what bills are going out and in 1 month to the next, apart from they might think there's not enough stuff around. You know, or might be hungry, might be feeling that there's a huge number of people on the planet that are malnourished, and actually roughly the same number of people on the planet that are obese.
So, but that's the trick, though, right? How do you flip that thought process? How do you go from scarcity mindset to abundance mindset?
So you just hit the nail on the head again to come full circle. Thought process. When you're a baby and you have your conscious mind hasn't fired up, you don't know how much money you've got or not got. You know, the baby of a billionaire doesn't know he's a baby, or she is a baby of a billionaire. Yeah. So it's conscious. It's all to do with thought.
So are you saying that just not thinking about money will make a difference?
Not thinking about the absence of money will make a difference.
Okay.
So if you focus on the absence, you'll manifest the absence.
So if you focus on the fact of having money, and I've heard it say that as you give or you pay your bills, if you pay your bills with joy versus angst, that helps move that energy flow in the right direction. Is that how you see it?
These are nice little things to do. Absolutely. But it's all to do with also how much you're prepared to put in. And I don't mean that by working hard, but how much attention you apply, how much you notice the opportunity, how much you might notice that the opportunity lies in the scarcity. Yeah. So, you know, if you find that scarcity and you discover a solution to that scarcity, that's something you can then offer to other people to help them out of that scarcity. But also collectively, we can have a scarcity as well. So in a group of people could be scarce together. But when you all come together and you find actually, I love the idea of co-creations and the idea that 1 + 1 can equal 3. So, you know, you find, I used to go to business networking meetings and people used to say, oh, what do you do? And so on. I do this and that. I would always say, what could we do? What could we do together? So together you do something which you couldn't have done separately. And I've always done that. I've always worked with people that have got skills that I haven't got. And you work together to create something which was impossible before. So and it's not so lonely then as well. So, you know, two or three scarce people together, you know, what can they create that couldn't have been created beforehand?
Right.
See, now that brings me, I guess, to my next question, not really next question, just one popped into my head. So we're talking about money because it is very important and all of that. But could the same processes be applied to love? There are so many people right now that are feeling so isolated. And I feel like that thought of not having love, and we've talked about it before, at least with Will and I, so many different types of love, but that fixation on not having love or not being lovable, I think that is the cause of so many of the problems that we have today. So could we apply the same principles for trying to get our financial house a little nicer? Could we apply that to our love life?
Absolutely, and I think I've got a course on that too, on alchemizing love,
Of
how you can
course.
alchemize love and transmute love, and it starts. It's a whole chakra workout. You go through, start at the base chakra, go all the way to the crown, and also activate the alpha and ergowa chakras, and then get into a state called the unified chakra. And love, the heart point is right at the center. About 2 million years ago, humankind learned how to control their fifth chakra point from their sixth chakra and make thoughts verbal.
Mm.
And we don't give that a second thought nowadays. But I read a book by Rudolf Steiner. He wrote it over 100 years ago. And he said the next phase of evolution is to take conscious control of your heart chakra. And that's what this course teaches you how to do. So the reason that's such a good question, Karen, is actually it's actually key. I didn't know how deep we're going to go in this conversation, but the heart chakra is so powerful. It's much more powerful than anything it emits from our head. With it, you can heal past, present, and future, but also you can attract all the things that you love into your life, but without being narcissistic. And the number of people that have taken this course that have literally fallen in love within a week is absolutely amazing. And because, but it starts with you loving yourself first, but not in that narcissistic way. So self-love, it starts with self-love. And then, because I think it'd be a big ask to expect someone to love you if you didn't love yourself first.
Yeah.
But the main thing you can do is the heart center. I've been Reiki initiated, so I can heal with hands, but the heart center is much more powerful than that. And the weirdest thing I've done is heal a budgie over Skype. This was before Zoom happened, over Skype in Vancouver using the heart ray. So amazing powerful.
A budgie, isn't that a bird?
Oh, yeah, but a little budgie, yeah, Joey.
Oh, I have to know what was wrong. What was wrong with the budgie?
He'd fallen out of love. He'd lost his partner, and he'd fallen out of love. His feathers were falling out and stuff like that. And so I was on a call with the client. The client was an author, and she just said, "Anything you can do with my budgie?" I said, "Well, I'll give it a go. I haven't done a budgie before." But what I did was I used her as a proxy. She didn't know that at the time. I used her as, I didn't know. I didn't have a relationship with Joey. And then anytime I'd appear on Skype again, subsequent to that thing, his feathers grew back. And he heard my voice, he'd go absolutely ballistic, chirping away.
Oh, wow.
Wow. Oh, I love it. That is fantastic.
Yeah. Well, slightly off topic of the, but yeah, when you love yourself and you love yourself for who you are, all the things that you need in your life gravitate towards you. And of course, some of these are the abundance opportunities. You know, they appear too. So the abilities to the job or the career you might want. It's not just about a soulmate, but it could be a career mate as well, or a company that doesn't know how good you are. But when you go to an interview and you're not confident and you don't like yourself, that will come across because other people silently picking up from their heart how their heart is feeling. As I mentioned before, if your head is very loud, it can block the senses that are coming from the heart and the gut. But if you take conscious control of your heart center, then you can go into a room, and it can be all alchemical techniques can be used for the wrong reasons too. You could make people fall in love with you, and this is why some of the things I've taught have been suppressed for many years, because in the wrong hands they could be used for the wrong reasons.
Yeah.
So how do you assure yourself that those that are taking your courses won't turn it to sinister purposes?
I've put some stuff into them to make sure they're intrinsically safe.
Tricky,
Ooh.
Tom.
I'm not going to say any more about that.
Yeah, no, it's probably a good idea. Yeah.
They're inherently safe, and they will only fall into the right hands. So, but the way it works is simply this: is that the people that might use it for the wrong reasons wouldn't notice it even exists.
Oh.
I wonder
So-
if that's why I don't know anything about it.
and they won't be watching this this
Well, that's
conversation.
true.
Okay. All right. Well, at least I got my foot in the door anyway. Now.
And I've got to say, this is one of the reasons I held back for many years, not putting this stuff out there, because I know in previous lives I might have done this and it might have gone a bit pear-shaped. So these past life resonances come in with us. And so the reason I held back on publishing this till quite recently, when I had the material about 20 years ago, was I needed to figure out that thing of how to make it inherently safe and ethical.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, because you could use it for your. I did a course once when there was about 35 people in the room, and I got people to pair up and just you get to feel each other's heart. And there was one person left over. She only happened to be the most attractive woman in the room, and I had to pair up with her. So what I did when I beamed my heart rate,
Tom, I'm so sorry.
not in that sense, but when I beamed my heart rate at her, I stopped it about 2 inches away, so it wouldn't quite go in. And this is really, it's about taking conscious control of it. Also, you can't go around the world just healing everybody. It has to be done with permission. So Joey could only be healed because my client wanted Joey to be healed. I couldn't go into Joey and just heal Joey. So it's really important you do this ethically and with permission.
And Joey, of course, was the budgie.
There's the budgie, yeah.
So all these courses, all this knowledge, all this wisdom that you have, you've wrapped it all into your adytum. I'd like to have you talk to us about what that is exactly.
Yeah, an adytum is
Adytum,
is a place where the high clergy would initiate the lower clergy, and it was usually a place fully of obfuscation, where things were made very complex and inaccessible. And it'd be venerated and this sort of stuff, and so my adytum is open to all that will notice, and the ones that don't need to notice won't see it, and that's also fine. There's two aspects. There's an outer adytum where there's lots of toys, lots of techniques. So there's one on time, one how to write a book, one how to activate your heart and to find a life that you love, that loves you, with people that you love, and this sort of stuff. There's one on ideas. There's one on called the magic of aha, how you bring an idea down. It's got some amazing meditations in there, and there's a healing course which is free, because I believe healing is a gift that's been bestowed on us, and that should always be free. And ironically, the money one is also free. Why not? and so that's in the outer adytum, and it's packaged together. You can either buy courses individually, or you can get packages and you can pay. Interestingly enough, it's really important that there's no fear in it. So you get to someone say, "Oh, this is $10,000, but you can get it for $2,000 if you buy it up front now." Or you can spread the payments, but it'll cost you $12,000 when you spread the payments. You can spread the payments in here, and there's no surcharge whatsoever. It's all about money energy, and like you do on NRTV, the numbers are really important. And Karen 444, no accident, and it's 444. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I've got an inner adytum where I'm taking acolytes on a journey of a kind of modern day ascension, really a trip into a completely different realm, and becoming a fully incarnated soul on the earth plane. Not to put too fine a point on it.
Oh, Tom, where have you been my whole life?
Yeah, but there's been a reason. There's been a reason. So I wasn't ready, and I'll go back to that time frame, just in time. When I put this adytum together, I put it together in a reaction to Insight Timer, because they changed the way they were getting paid, and my pay was going to go down by about half. So I thought, well, I've got all this stuff. I've put it all together in this thing, but I had no way of marketing it. And what's the best way to get the word out on something like that? Have your own TV channel. So what's up? Just in time.
There you go. Yeah.
So I have a question, another one. It's just pop into my head. We, over here at least, are living in just really chaotic, difficult, tense times. And it seems like it affects almost every aspect of our lives. So can someone go to your adytum, to go through these courses and even in the most toxic and tragic of times, live a beautiful life?
Yeah, and obviously I notice these things too. And one of the reactions to it, if you look at some of the people, on the planet right now, is to see it from a perspective. It's pretty terrible, and it is pretty terrible. I would have put too fine a point on it. But ironically, you can send love to the people that you might not like the least, and it helps. If we did it collectively, it would really, really help. And so you can use, it might sound a bit woo-woo and a bit, but you can do things like that. But absolutely, this starts with the micro scales up to the macro. So what you're doing with New Reality TV in the midst of all of this nonsense is just amazing. You know, it's the sort of TV channel people should really be tuning into and should be mainstream, right? And it starts with this. But as I said to you, if you're doing this all by yourself, unless you're just with your own TV show, it'd be really hard to do. But the people that you've brought in, and do you not notice how just when you didn't know you needed another show host, the most perfect show host turns up with another aspect of this stuff? You know, I've just got some of the keys. I haven't got all the keys by any stretch of the imagination. There's lots of other people out there with some amazing content. There's a huge amount of ageless wisdom that's out there. You know, the stuff that Tracy O'Connor's bringing in with the Celtic soul. This stuff's been known about for thousands and thousands of years, right? All I'm doing is taking stuff which was out there and contemporizing it, right? And making it accessible and useful in a modern day context. That's all I'm doing. So it's not, obviously some of it is magic, and some of the stuff I do in the inner sanctum is out and out magic, but again, very safe and for the right reason. So the only way to deal with the chaos is to start individually, and it will spread, and it will spread in a lovely way. And all that's happening at the moment is we're going from, and I write about this in my fictional writing. So when I do the more bonkers stuff, I don't put it into a non-fiction book or even into a course. I write about it in a channeled future history. And my book Soulwaves starts in 2058. I wrote it before COVID, and it's based in Beijing and Wuhan. Would you believe?
Wow.
And it's written in the future, but in the past tense. So I refer back to the 20s. It's not a political book, and it doesn't talk about the times we're going through right now. And all I say is, in the 20s, some things happened so that the existing world powers stopped being the main world powers, right? And they became like bit rate players and stuff like that. And that's kind of what's happening at the moment. So it's all part of a grander scheme, and we're going from a level called Epoch 5 into Epoch 6. And one of the aspects of Epoch 6 is we evolved from being planetary abusers to being planetary caretakers. And all you're seeing is the thrashing of the old dinosaurs.
Yeah. That can't happen fast enough.
Yeah.
As far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, but some of these people won't be alive in 10, 20 years' time.
That's true.
Right. I see ourselves quickly running out of time. We usually have some curveball questions that we ask some of our guests. And
Haven't you given me some of those already?
That's a fair point. but these are like kooky, crazy questions like, if you could leave a message etched in the fabric of time so that it shows up in every era of human history, including the future, what would it say?
Now, that is a curveball question.
Yes.
I'd have to paraphrase Bambi. Or was it
Bambi?
Thumper? Was it Thumper? Was it Thumper in Bambi? Thumper in Bambi said, if you can't say something nice, don't say nothing at all.
Yeah.
And that was told to him by, I think it was it Thumper?
I think it was Thumper that
Or was
said
it the skunk?
Yeah.
It might have been the skunk.
Maybe it was the flower.
Flower, yeah, it might have been Flower.
There you
the
go.
skunk.
Yeah. We'll etch that in time.
That's great. So because we run out of time, I had a couple other questions, but we'll have to have you back again to throw you more curveball questions, because those are the fun ones for you. But if someone wanted to get involved with the Aditum or wanted to reach out to you, what is the best way for someone to do that?
Yeah, go to my website, tomevans.co.com.uk. And on there, you'll find a link to free meditations, because some people might not be ready to jump into something like the Aditum. Start with free meditations on Insight Timer. It's a free app. There's no credit card to be put into it. If you want to look in a little bit more, I've written 18 books. There's a 19th one coming out right now to get one of the books. And then when you're ready to jump into a course, what's the presenting issue? Is it something that wants to be healed in your life? Well, that's free. Is abundance your thing? That money gets shoved into that as well. Get the free money course. And then what's the next thing? Do you want to find a soulmate? Well, there's a course on that. Are you short of a business idea? Well, there's a course on how to download infinite number of likable moments that way you create a disruption in the world in a nice way.
Right.
You want to write a book, there's a course on that. And if you haven't got enough time, there's a course on that too.
So it's no longer there's an app for that. Now it's Tom has a course for that. Right. Well, that is wonderful. We're going to add direct links to our show notes. So if you missed any of that, just go to skepticmetaphysician.com. You go to his episode page, you will find the link directly in the show notes so you can connect with him directly, super quickly. I cannot express enough how much incredible fun I've had in this conversation. It's one of those times, sometimes you talk to someone and the time goes by so fast. You look up at the clock and all of a sudden you realize, oh my gosh, I've got to close out the show. And then you are sorry and sad. And this is one of those times for sure.
And if you take his course, he can explain why.
Yes. So next time we do this interview, we're going to have to practice the temporal alchemy to make sure that we talk a lot longer and it feels like it's just been 20 minutes.
Well, had we started with 9 in and out breaths before we did anything, that would have been a key.
Oh, Tom, darn it. Next time.
Yeah.
All right, Tom, thank you so much for coming on the show. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Sure has.
For me too.
Okay, real talk for a second. You ever feel like you've read every book, tried every method, watched every video, and still you're craving something deeper, something that actually works in your real life, but also speaks to your soul? Well, buckle up because we found it. It's called the Aditum, a beautifully immersive mystery school created by our friend and mind-bendingly insightful guide, Tom Evans. And inside its portal of possibilities is a treasure trove known as the sanctums, the inner and the outer sanctums. See, this is where ancient wisdom meets wildly practical alchemy, where spiritual seekers and curious creatives alike can dive into an ever-expanding universe of transformation. Now, we're talking full-on next-level content like temporal alchemy, master the art of bending time to your will, flavors of thought, you can rewire how you think on a soul level. There's also heartful living. You can tap into a deeply aligned way of being. The magic of numbers. Uncover the sacred codes all around you. There's channeling for authors. Channeling for writing. Meditations of transmutation, healing, alchemy, abundant thinking, and so much more. There is so much inside the sanctums that, in fact, Tom even includes a special video just to help you navigate it all, which tells you everything you need to know about how power-packed this space really is. Now, if you're looking to stop dabbling and actually start transforming, well, this, my friend, this is your call to adventure. And here's the coolest part. Tom has given us an exclusive affiliate link. So when you sign up through that, you're not just investing in your own evolution. You're also supporting the show and the work that we do here. So just head over to the show notes and you'll find the affiliate URL there laid in directly for you so you could find it. It makes it super easy. Karen and I, we're already inside the Aditum. Come join us.